Okay, there's a dissymmetry between both of them, but one is more radical, the outer space. And you can use that to China doll, fit one into the other to draw conclusions to weed out fallacies. And this would be the name of the game with probably why we're here. This kid's going live on School Sports. It's the beneficiaries of the cognitive dissidence medicines, ADD, when affliction hits, the beneficiaries of these medicines, of plants. Medicine is a practice. And so we're going to bang these two together in just 1 minute. To align right, it's this whole risk and reward thing where if you're inside of a hospital and it's after 2023, the year past where Joe Biden went on TV in like a car dealership with the news reporter walking and saying, well, the pandemic, it seems like it's over. And at that point of time, the health czar of the world, the United States of American president, all countries follow what we do because we're the bastion of freedom. And so Joe Biden on TV says the pandemic's over. The health czar of the world, and now it's over. We've bent the curb. People in hospitals, they're like casually saying, I can't believe we're not wearing masks. Well, no, it's because we bent the curb. And it's hard to put your finger on this, but what I just explained is a phenomenon of dissidence. But in the day and age where the pen is mightier than the sword, politically and lawfully, you have to do things, and I'd have it no other way. I'm not violent. But where public opinion's so much pronounced. And so when in TV, it's with all these drug companies, I could never get sponsored because I'm out here saying ADD, the beneficiary of these makeups of the medicine that are given to these kids who have it, they're the losers. They're so smug, they'll never go out and vlog what I'm doing. But it's the drug companies that own all the commercials on TV, the bulk of them. And those commercials are what pay for the broadcasters who get hired by these networks so that they'll read off a teleprompter. You'll never get a broadcaster that doesn't. Or else it would be a Tucker Carlson who got cut loose for doing not what was on the teleprompter. And if you got that, then you get mostly everything. But from here on out, it's the dissymmetry within time. It's like God has the scrolls of time and he'll wrap them up when he's done. It's like one day can be 1,000 years. We all know that we run off 24 hours because of the sun, but it's when you're doing things in the micro scale and then outer space, it's where time gets dilated to the point of scales of a day being 1,000 years. And so when people are doing things that would be like peeking inside of the scroll that God has when he has the say in everything, it's getting easier to see if you understand a few things about how half-lives, what their time scale is. I go off and I talk about electrons. Just a circumference around an electron it has to follow a Pauli exclusion principle, which is the charges have to be opposite and everywhere around it, but it's got these interactions with molecules, so you see these stop gaps in between, and that's the main point of inference with how the icicle spider web things came. It was the cavity pockets below it making vacancies. Yes. And this is all, of course, allowed because blood circulation. The more that you understand all animals, they excite their cellular structure. If you don't know, cells have cellulose or cilia. These are linear things, and they're like hairs inside your insides. And so when you're seeing an animal rub its antlers, its antlers have all these sensories on them, and so they're tuning that. The bears, they scratch their backs on trees. You can imagine how much a bear's back vertebrae plays into its bestiality. Ostriches burying their heads in sand. This is all the stuff that they do to excite their stimuli to make sure that their blood flow is creme de la creme. Cut if it isn't, that's when things go haywire. And so using outer space, the asymmetry from it onto Earth, which is more symmetric, but still all nature is not, can be like a China doll where you double one thing and put inside the other and make it twice as accurate. What's pronounced? Well, when you're an actor in the set, you got to find the light. And so the moment that you don't, shadows fill in. We all know how we feel about shadows, or what Glitch said. You shouldn't have looked this way when you went live. You have to prepare first in order to. No. You hit the record button and upload. This is what it means to go live. What's not premeditated in the court of law? No, what's pronounced. And I don't mean dead on arrival. So yeah, never laugh at anyone's accent, because they might think that you're laughing at their upbringing with how they learned how to talk, and that could affect their whole persona, especially if they're attending a funeral. Well, now you've just ruined their entire day and life perspective of what they thought from their belonged ones passing. Secondly, never grab something out of a cooler that isn't yours. I don't care how well off you think the people at the party are. Thirdly, never attend a house that has an open door, even if it's a block party, because you might not have been invited, even though it's an open house with the door open and a block party. It's half-life, believe it or not, with your makeup, cellular structure, and these suckers, they're on a time of half-life. They're on a time of half-life. Particles, interactions, have that as their gauge, their weather odometer. The half-lives of your body interact outwardly with electrons, whether it be through the friction of an electron negative hitting another negative of electron. Your body electrons hit the surface of the environment and you don't go through them because of electrons. The smallest particle, these are point particles, and altogether they align right. Pauli exclusion principle of the one right next to it. So you can imagine the symmetry with its circumference. This is where molecule structures get important, guys. Over here we have some interesting detail where it's a deviation from a crystalline structure to a Fibonacci spiral. The difference of the two would, of course, be a Mandelbrot set, but firstly, we see that this elbow was emphasized and it carried over into more so of a flow. We're in the dynamic over here, we're seeing more crystalline. When they're linear, they coexist as what. Now this structure is rare because it emulates a spider web. We've got two arteries that go from our back up into our head. We've got a brainstem that goes down, probably splits the two. If that doesn't have decals of what a simulation is, then I don't know what is. So when talking about basic constituents, people, you have to understand individualism is super important, because at any point in time, someone can crowdsource and use the collective as a weapon. One thing about monuments, even though something looks like a bench, don't sit on it, it's a monument. If you damage property on a monument, it's like double time. It's the same with schools. If you do something bad and it's in a school zone, you get charged in double time. And it's just like things that are not up for debate. If you cut an apple, it's never going to be a wedge at the first cut. It's going to be circular.